The day Mansa Musa fully settled onto the throne of Mali, he inherited far more than a kingdom. He inherited responsibility. He inherited expectations, and perhaps most importantly, he inherited opportunity. The empire he now ruled was already powerful, but Musa could see something that many rulers before him had failed to recognize. Mali was not merely a kingdom sitting on vast reserves of gold. It was positioned at the center of a network that connected worlds. To the north lay the great cities of North Africa. Beyond them stood the powerful kingdoms of the Mediterranean. Farther east stretched the lands of scholars, merchants, and ancient civilizations. To the south and west were territories rich in resources and human talent. Trade flowed through Mali like blood through a living body, and whoever controlled that flow controlled unimaginable wealth. Musa understood this better than almost anyone. While many kings dreamed of glory on the battlefield, Musa spent countless hours thinking about trade routes, merchants, taxation, and diplomacy. It may not have sounded exciting to warriors eager for conquest, but Musa knew something they did not. Gold was powerful, but controlling the movement of gold was even more powerful. As the years passed, caravans entering Mali grew larger. Merchants arrived carrying salt from the Sahara, cloth from distant markets, rare goods from lands many Malians would never see, and stories from across the known world. Every visitor left impressed by the wealth they encountered. The marketplaces buzzed with activity from sunrise until nightfall. Traders negotiated deals beneath the hot African sun. Camels groaned under heavy loads. Languages from different regions blended together in a constant symphony of commerce. For Musa, these bustling markets represented more than economic success. They represented the future. He knew that wealth could disappear if it was not managed wisely. History was filled with rulers who had inherited riches only to squander them through greed, poor decisions, or endless wars. Musa intended to be different. Rather than draining the empire's resources, he strengthened the systems that created wealth in the first place. Roads became safer, trade routes received better protection, bandits were pursued relentlessly, regional leaders were held accountable, merchants gained confidence, and when merchants feel secure, business flourishes. Soon the empire's prosperity began reaching levels few could have imagined. Gold flowed through Mali in such quantities that foreign traders often struggled to comprehend it. Stories spread across deserts and oceans. Some exaggerated the truth, others understated it. Yet no matter how incredible the rumors sounded, reality was often even more astonishing. There were regions within the empire where gold nuggets could still be found in riverbeds. Miners extracted precious metal from the earth in quantities that made foreign visitors stare in disbelief. The world wanted gold. Mali possessed gold, and Mansa Musa controlled the empire that stood between supply and demand. But wealth alone was never enough to satisfy him. Deep within Musa existed another ambition. He wanted Mali to become a center of civilization. He wanted future generations to remember more than treasure. He wanted the empire to become known for learning, culture, and faith. At the time, many outsiders viewed Africa through a narrow lens. They knew little about its kingdoms, its scholars, its achievements, or its complex societies. Musa wanted to change that perception. He believed greatness required more than treasure. It required knowledge. As a devout Muslim, Musa valued education deeply. Across the Islamic world, great cities housed libraries, scholars, mathematicians, philosophers, and theologians. Ideas traveled along trade routes just as goods did. Musa became increasingly fascinated by this exchange of knowledge. He invited scholars into his court. He listened to teachers. He supported learning. The seeds of a future intellectual golden age were already being planted, although few people realized it at the time. But while Musa dreamed of the future, he could never forget the realities of ruling a vast empire. Challenges existed everywhere. Some governors sought greater independence. Certain regions required constant oversight. Trade routes needed protection. Neighboring territories watched carefully for signs of weakness. The larger an empire became, the harder it was to manage. A single rebellion could spread instability. A single poor harvest could create suffering. A single military defeat could damage years of progress. Every day brought new decisions. Every decision carried consequences. Some rulers thrived on power. Others were crushed by it. Musa appeared strengthened by responsibility. He possessed a calm confidence that reassured those around him. When problems arose, he rarely rushed to judgment. He gathered information, he listened, then he acted decisively. People began seeing him not merely as a king, but as a statesman. His reputation grew throughout the empire. Merchants respected him, religious leaders admired him, officials trusted him, ordinary citizens viewed him as a symbol of stability. And as his influence expanded, so too did the legend surrounding Mali itself. Far beyond the empire's borders, stories about the wealth of West Africa continued spreading. A trader arriving in Cairo might speak of gold-rich lands far to the south. A merchant visiting Morocco might repeat tales heard from desert caravans. A scholar recording observations might mention reports of a powerful African ruler governing a prosperous empire. Each story added another layer to the growing myth. Yet Musa had not done the thing that would make him famous. Not yet. The event that would immortalize his name was still approaching, and oddly enough, it began not with politics or commerce, it began with faith. For years, Musa had contemplated a sacred journey, the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. For Muslims, the pilgrimage represented one of the most important acts of devotion. Across continents, believers dreamed of making the journey at least once in their lives. Many traveled great distances, many endured hardships, many spent years saving resources. Musa wished to undertake that journey himself. But there was a problem. Musa was not an ordinary traveler. He was the ruler of one of the wealthiest empires on earth. Wherever he went, he represented Mali. Every action he took reflected upon his kingdom. If he traveled, he could not travel alone. He would need protection, officials, servants, scholars, supplies. The scale of such a journey would be enormous. As preparations began, people quickly realized that this would not be a normal pilgrimage. It would be something unprecedented, something the world had never witnessed. Thousands of individuals would accompany the caravan. Hundreds of camels would carry supplies. Massive quantities of gold would be transported across the desert. The logistics alone seemed staggering. Entire communities became involved in preparations. Artisans produced equipment, officials organized routes, military escorts prepared security measures, religious leaders discussed the spiritual significance of the undertaking. Excitement spread throughout the empire. People sensed they were witnessing history in the making, but nobody fully understood how significant the journey would become. Not even Musa. As the departure day approached, the caravan continued growing. Travelers arrived hoping to join. Officials finalized plans. Supplies accumulated. The spectacle became impossible to ignore. Imagine standing beside the route as thousands of people assembled. Imagine seeing endless rows of camels stretching toward the horizon. Imagine hearing the sounds of preparation echoing through the air. It must have felt less like a pilgrimage and more like an entire civilization on the move. Yet beneath the grandeur lay genuine devotion. Musa was not embarking on this journey simply to display wealth. He sought spiritual fulfillment. He wanted to fulfill a religious obligation. He wanted to connect with the broader Islamic world, and he wanted to demonstrate that Mali belonged among the great civilizations of the age.
When the caravan finally departed, dust rose into the sky behind it. People gathered to watch. Some cheered, some prayed, some simply stared in amazement. The procession moved slowly across the African landscape, day after day, week after week, toward destinations many travelers had only heard about in stories. As they advanced northward, news traveled ahead of them. At first, reports seemed unbelievable. A king traveling with thousands of followers, hundreds of camels, extraordinary quantities of gold? Foreign officials dismissed some accounts as exaggerations. After all, travelers often embellished stories. But then more reports arrived, then more. Gradually, a realization spread. The stories were true. Something remarkable was approaching, something unlike anything anyone had seen before.